Hey, KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra here at KUsports.com. With Ben Smith, I'm Matt Tate, and we're back talking about another Kansas loss, another loss on the road. KU falls today 91-79 at West Virginia. That's 5 in a row on the road, and it really sets up Kansas in a tough spot because streaks don't mean a whole lot. They don't matter. But on Monday, it's very, very likely that Kansas will not be ranked for the first time since 2009.
Ooh. Should we?
How old were you in 2009, Benton?
I don't want to say. I was just about to see if I could find some liquor nearby. We could just pour some out for it. I mean, it's an incredible run. Self-talked a little bit after the game about that because someone asked him about it, not because he wanted to.
No, but he was good on it.
But yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's insane. I mean, because there obviously are tons of high-profile programs like KU in the country who, are constantly contenders for national titles and teams that are expected to, make Final Four runs every March. And, for whatever reason, Kansas kind of stood the test of time the past, 12 years now and just kept being a top 25 team. And obviously a lot of that has to do with that crazy run they had in the Big 12, just winning conference titles every year.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's 231 consecutive weeks. And I don't think anyone even has, other than anyone active anyway, even is nearing triple digits. So, just a small footnote in the bigger picture of what this team's going through right now, but kind of fitting really, if you think about it. I mean, this team has not been a team that's been able to figure it out all year. And they obviously had it going early and they just can't get back to that. And they do, you just talked about this before we hit record, so I'm going to steal it, but they do for stretches. I mean, I thought the start of the second half, that's about as well as they've played all year. Defensively, turning it into offense. They erased a 10-point halftime deficit in 2 minutes and 7 seconds. I mean, that's unheard of. So that team is there, right? They have that team in them, but they don't do it consistently. They don't do it over prolonged stretches, and they still make it too easy for their opponents. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that happened today. They made that run. They got it tied. They put pressure on them. West Virginia's reeling, and then they get a couple of open jumpers and they get back on track, or a couple easy shots at the rim and they get back on track, and they didn't have to feel like they were collapsing or falling apart because they regained control just as soon as KU kind of took it away from them. So the beat goes on. I mean, this team continues to march into, approaching mid-February here soon, trying to figure out how they play, who they are, what they've got to do to sustain some of these things. And there are no easy answers right now. It doesn't look like they're all that much closer to getting it figured out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of the thing I was thinking late night game. There was a stretch maybe in the last 5 minutes where, if they were going to do it, it had to happen with about 5 minutes left. And they just had, shots that rimmed out. And I mean, I thought Ochai had a great look in the lane, kind of off of a drive and a little quick turnaround jumper that just kind of rimmed out. And that came after, Garrett took a three that missed, and McCormick got the offensive rebound. He was right back there for a little jump hook put back in the lane, and that didn't go. And
that was almost a 0-footer. I mean,
it was pretty close. Yeah.
And I get it. He played well. He got on the offensive glass. Getting that opportunity is great, but you just have to make it. There's nothing more than that.
And then I think Jalen Wilson, who did a nice job being assertive offensively and, kind of attacking and setting other guys up, just, he drove baseline and then he just threw the ball away into the back court. And I mean, that kind of seemed like the point where it was completely dead, the idea of them coming back.
For sure.
And I mean, that's just a perfect example of like how different this team can look. I mean, that happened in the same half. That team that came out and blitzed West Virginia out of halftime also just looked really rough down the stretch. And I mean, this isn't a typical like amazing defensive West Virginia team. It's not a team that just like is pressing the entire game and making everything uncomfortable for you. I mean, it's so that the turnovers that KU had today, I mean, that was bad. And then as you just alluded to a minute ago, the defense just wasn't there.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, right? 91 points. Bill Self's never going to like that number ever.
I think it's a season high for West Virginia too.
There you go. And more to the point there, this same West Virginia team pretty much scored 65 when they came to Lawrence. Now that was a lifetime ago. That was when KU was playing well and had its confidence. And West Virginia was not the same team they are. They've definitely changed up their personnel and how they play and all that since then. So not crazy to think that it was going to be or look different. I mean, I think everybody expected that. But the fact is, you held this team in some capacity to 65 points the last time you played them, and you gave up 91 today. So, 44 at halftime, and you think, okay, well, that can't happen again. And then 47 in the second half, So there were things to like, I think, offensively about Kansas. And Jalen Wilson got a little mojo going again. A lot of guys played pretty well offensively, but none of that matters if you can't defend. And Self flat out said, I mean, he named players. He said nobody guarded anybody today. And he said Marcus Garrett, Ochai. I mean, he rattled off pretty much anybody who played today, didn't guard anybody. And the other thing is they only played really 6 guys. I mean, they had 3 guys off the bench play 9, or 2 guys off the bench that played 9 minutes, right? So,
Harris and Aruna both played 9.
There you go. And Tehan got 2. I was going to count him in there, and I
they needed somebody to foul. Somebody to come in there and foul West Virginia.
Right, and he's not afraid to shoot the ball either. So if he came open with a shot, he might launch one. He didn't get the opportunity, but I don't know, man. I think that this team is really it's weird to watch them reeling so much because so many years they've always been able to figure it out, and a tweak here, a changed mindset there, and then maybe it takes a little rough patch, but then they get it, and then they move forward. And this team's really struggling to move forward and make progress. So I think they keep saying, this team, the players, they keep saying we just have to lock in defensively. And after an effort like today, that's probably very true, right? Because I think offensively there's enough there still. They showed that in spurts today from various players that, hey, we can go out and get points. We just have to keep other teams from doing it. And right now they're not very good at that. So until that changes, and that's a big if that changes, things might start looking up. But until it does, this is a team that's going to probably continue to struggle and be reeling, and obviously that hurts confidence, and then there's no telling what happens from there. So it's a strange thing to watch. There's no doubt about that. And Benton, the other thing is these losses. I mean, you can say what you want about them. They're not bad losses. All 7 losses are to teams that are good,
quality opponents. Yeah,
quality opponents. Right. At some point, though, that line of thinking has to just not mean anything, because great, you're losing to good teams. When are you going to start beating some, right? And that, I mean, that's really all that matters. So I asked Self about that after today, and he didn't really talk too much about the ringing hollow thing there, but he did say, we don't feel like this is a positive thing. I'm not going to sit here and say like, hey, it was a good loss. I mean, no way would he do that, No. But the facts are there. I mean, these aren't losses to TCU or K-State or Iowa State, which would obviously be Armageddon and really, really set this fan base off. But at some point, you got to beat some of these teams, and they're just not capable of doing that right now. And until they show they can, you have to keep wondering what the rest of this season holds. What do you see on the immediate horizon for this team?
Well, I mean, the way you just put it, and until you see they can, stop a team from getting hot from 3-point range, that's going to be an issue. That's been an issue all year for this team. And a lot of times, it seems like, well, that team just got hot today. Well, that team that just got hot is playing the same team. The same KU team is giving up those shots and allowing the opponent to get hot from 3-point range. So what West Virginia was 11 for 21 today. That was the 3rd game this year that KU has given up double-digit threes. And I mean, that's not awful, but consistently teams are hitting a good percentage of their looks. And so, I mean, obviously the 3-pointer is so crucial, and whether you're talking offensively or defensively, the way the game's played now, it's been a problem. So that's one of the things that they could tweak potentially, just force teams off the line,
Right.
force them to go inside.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing about trying to figure this team out is a lot of times when they hit a rough patch in the past, a lot of it was mental and
Mm.
effort and intensity and energy. And you just, you fix those things and then good things happen. And I didn't think that was at all the problem today. I thought their effort was great. I thought it was great from the opening tip when they were on the offensive glass and just missed point blank shot after point blank shot. I thought it was great in the start of the second half when they erased that deficit. I thought they fought to the end. I mean, like, if you're pointing at this team and saying it's an effort thing, I think you're just missing it. I don't think it's an effort thing. And that's probably the scariest part for Kansas, because effort is always something you can control, right? I mean, you just tell guys, you just got to play harder. And a lot of times they do. I'm not sure this team just needs to play harder. They just need to play smarter and better. And that is sometimes harder to do than telling guys to turn up a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, it's just Monday night's big. I mean, there's no doubt. I said last Saturday against Tennessee was huge, and they flopped. I said today was maybe even as big or bigger than that one, and they lost by double digits. I mean, at some point they're running out of games, right, to where they can say,
Yep.
hey, this could show us something. But this game Monday against the team that already beat you, a team that may very well replace you in the rankings on Monday. It's a pretty big win, because you get a chance there to go out and prove that you can beat a good team. After that, you get 3 games in a row against K-State and Iowa State. I don't know that tells you anything. Yeah, you want to play well and you want to win those games, and maybe there's some momentum that builds from that, but it still doesn't tell you if you can beat these types of teams that you keep losing to. So what do you think? Monday night must win, dare I say? Would you say it? Say it with me?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much have to. I think, obviously, in a lot of cases, that's a phrase that gets thrown around too much, right? But
Definitely.
the way the season has played out, and you mentioned the games that are coming up. Obviously, they need to win those games, but those aren't games where you're going to really be tested the way that you have been, and a lot of these losses the past since January started, right? I mean, all these losses have come, except for the Gonzaga season opener one, since the start of January, with the start of really being in Big 12 play. And then you have the Tennessee loss in there too, and I mean, that was one of their worst performances of the year, really, when you look at it. And
Right.
it's so, I mean, just given where this team's at right now, you absolutely have to beat that Oklahoma State team that you had that narrow loss to a few weeks back down in Stillwater, because that would be something that you can kind of hold on to, is like, this is important, this matters. We proved that we can beat a tournament team again. We haven't done that in a long time. That's the kind of feeling that would come with them beating Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it'll have been a month, right? Because their January 9th win over Oklahoma was obviously, looking back on it, a pretty good win right now. But those were teams in different spots. And really, I thought the Oklahoma State loss kind of kickstarted their downfall. I mean, I think losing to Texas at home was not anything that anybody enjoyed, but then they followed that up with a couple of wins and kind of got right away. But then you lose at Oklahoma State in the fashion they did, and it just kept spiraling from there. So in addition to what you just said about beating a good team, a tournament team, I think it's, KU doesn't get to play the revenge factor very much. And I think it's all hands on deck right now. They got to throw everything they can at this game on Monday night, and it won't be easy. Mike Boynton's a hell of a coach. Cade Cunningham dominated that first game. I mean, he did whatever and got whatever he wanted for the most part. It's a big test. And I think the last couple of games, right, last couple of Saturdays anyway, have just really hammered home the idea that the rest of this season, and it's been this way for a little while, but the rest of this season is simply about trying to position yourself to be playing the best basketball you can when March gets here, because it's not about anything other than that right now. And right now they're not even able to do that, so they got to win Monday, and then they got to go get those next 3 against Big 12 bottom feeders. And at that point, you've won 4 in a row. If you can do that, maybe that is something that can flip this thing around, and you go into those final 3 games looking, feeling, playing better. But man, we're so far ahead of ourselves right there. I mean, they just have to get through Monday now, and they just have to show they can guard somebody and get a win. And to be determined. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Ben?
I think you kind of you might have said this earlier on, but I mean,
I said a lot. I've said a
You
lot.
did, yeah, I've said a lot. This team's kind of running out of time.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point you gotta make a turn in the right direction, and it seems like what Self has been chasing with this team throughout the past couple months is somehow making it better defensively, and if they can figure that out, that'll be the time that they turn it around. So you got a quick turnaround to face a really good Oklahoma State team, and then maybe you can really keep tweaking in the weeks that follow that, and eventually, like you said, you just got to hope that you're on the right trajectory when the postseason gets here, and it's coming quick.
It is coming quick, and they're going the wrong direction right now for sure. So the next couple weeks are huge, and then you let it fall where it falls after that. But got to get there first. So we'll have all kinds of coverage Monday night from a big Monday game against Oklahoma State. It is going to be a lot of fun, simply because Cade Cunningham is a lot of fun to watch. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. That guy is awesome.
Yeah, future Denver Nugget. Future Boston Celtic. I don't know. Future Atlanta Hawk.
That sounds more accurate.
Future Frank Mason teammate in Orlando.
In Orlando, yes.
All right. Well, KU falls 91-79 at West Virginia today. They're now 12-7 overall, 6-5 in Big 12 play, and you got to go back a long way to hear those totals at this point in the calendar. KU's never lost 5 games by February 6th in Big 12 play, and it's been since 1987-88 that they lost 7 games by February 6th overall. So, I mean, just continuing to be an unprecedented type of season, but they are still trying to find their way through it, and we'll be there to see if they can do it. So for Benton Smith, I'm Matt Tate. Thanks for checking out KU Sports Extra, and we'll talk to you guys again Monday night.